I mean, Contagious has been, since 2003, based out of London, but we've always been global. So we've worked with people all around the world, in the States, and we've had an office in New York. We've opened an office in Australia. There's a presence in Belgium, which covers most of Europe, and there's a presence coming up in Singapore. So the idea was to be on the ground here in India. Obviously, this is a very, very exciting market. There's some exciting work coming out of India, so we'd like to be closer to India by actually physically being here. The entire Contagious portfolio, which is our quarterly magazine, our trends briefings, our online intelligence feed, workshops, consultancy, working together with the brands, will be available directly in India rather than buying out of London. It's actually going to be here in India, so I'm going to start off from Delhi, and then if the need arises to actually be in Mumbai, then that's what we'll do. You know, we've been in London, so we want to get closer to the market. I'm going to spend some time here, meet the brand owners, meet the agencies, and see exactly, you know, what the requirement is. So we're going to start off small, firstly with our presence, because you need to have a lot more one-on-one conversations in India more than in other places, and we haven't really been doing that, so that's where we're going to start off from. We've done a little bit of work with a couple of Indian brands, but those were just, one I can't because it was a confidential, you know, it was more of a confidential occasional marketing report that we had to churn out, as and when there is a need. So, you know, they brief us and we can turn around according to their requirements. But we work with Mudra Group. They have our intelligence feed, which they've had for a year. And we've also worked with the JWT companies here in India, including Contract, which is part of the JWT Asia Pack.
The kind of content which consumers would get, or the kind of services that we would offer agencies, which do you mean? As in business facing or consumer facing? India is an extremely fascinating market, and I think that in terms of the work that we pick up at Contagious, we don't see as much Indian work as we would like to see, but the good campaigns that we see are absolutely fantastic. So for us, it's really great to be here and see some of these campaigns, because the results that they get are just staggering. And I think it proves that when brands are bold enough to do things outside of traditional media schedules, whether it's building communities, leveraging social, all that sort of thing, it really pays off. So I think from a consumer facing point of view, we want to be here and sort of champion these campaigns that have worked to the brands, to the agencies, and say, look, this stuff works, which is what Contagious is all about. It's about celebrating the non-traditional stuff that actually has results, as opposed to the non-traditional stuff which looks really great but doesn't actually drive any business for the brand. So we want to champion that. And I think then in terms of what we would offer brands and agencies, I think some of the best work that we've done, certainly in the UK, US and Europe, has been where we don't work just exclusively for an agency or exclusively for a brand, but we sit somewhere in between. So we come in and we say, look, you know, the brand wants to do more stuff in social, the agency wants to do more stuff in social, you both want to do this, but you're not talking to each other in the right way. In Contagious, because we're unbiased, because essentially what we do is make this magazine, we get to sit on top and see all of it. So we can become a sort of mediator between the brand and the client and say, look, well, if you guys want to do this, this is how you might go about doing it. This is the sort of infrastructure. Client, this is how you need to trust agency. Agency, these are the kind of results you need to be driving for the client. So I think when we can sit in that space in between, it's really kind of positive. And I think that the sort of relationship which clients have with agencies does differ slightly in India in the way that it might in the UK or US or Europe. So it's going to be really useful having someone like Neeraj here who's got amazing experience to do that in a way which is sensitive, because we fully appreciate that we can't come in here and necessarily replicate the same kind of model that we could do in UK, US. It's, like I say, it's about being sensitive to local markets, but it's something that we're very excited about doing and exploring, and you know, we're looking for people to start that journey with, I think.
Like Will said, we currently have about 1,000 agency submissions from around the world directly to us, and then our research teams maybe pick up an equal amount, and we'd love to at least have a look at what's happening in India, to be able to put it in front of the editorial team and maybe feature it like we have done the other case studies.
Because one of those things, I think that of people that subscribe to Contagious magazine, it's about 60% agency side and about 40% brands. So at brands, it's brand managers, it's chief marketing officers, and I think everyone's very aware that India as a market is booming and is exciting. There's a lot happening. So I think it's definitely in our interest from an editorial capacity to feature as much great, exciting work from this region as possible. So it's having an office here and having Neeraj here. It's going to be obviously to drive business, but it's also going to be just to bring Contagious closer to the industry here, and it's kind of a mutual exchange. I would like to think. Contagious it's a niche product, but I think the fact that we have thousands of CMOs from major brands subscribing, and we have creative directors from all the major agency networks in the world subscribe because they see value in Contagious. And I think the important point to make is that meaning is expensive, and we're not expensive, but there's value in meaning. Okay, and we don't just document campaigns. We don't just say, here's a great campaign, here's another one, here's another emerging technology. We tie all those campaigns together. We try and draw the meaning out of them. We try and make sense of it. And Ty Montague, formerly head of JWT, described it as a planner's Bible. So if you're a planner in an agency, this is what you look at, because it's not just here's a great campaign. There are 1,000 blogs where you can look at great campaigns, but to work out why that campaign is good, what it's relevant to, and why it's relevant to your brand, I think is something that Contagious does. So yeah, it's a niche product, and I don't think we try and pretend it's not. But I think once you look not only at the meaning that we provide, but also, like Neeraj says, it's more than a magazine. The online archive has every piece of content that's ever been featured in Contagious is there, with full challenge solution results, video, all that kind of stuff. So if you're in an agency and you think, right, we've got a pitch on this account, you want to see everything cool that the beer brands have done in social, a couple of quick word searches, and you've got all this amazing content. So it's a huge resource as well. And I think when you look at it like that, actually it becomes quite good value for money. I find that almost always it's people start with a magazine subscription, and then Neeraj mentioned Contagious Feed, which is a bespoke intelligence feed service that we put into about 60 different brands and agencies around the world. Nike get one, Louis Vuitton get one, O2, Nestle, Kraft, Nokia, all get a Contagious Feed. The first ever Contagious Feed came because Saatchi & Saatchi in LA and New York, it was their P&G and Toyota teams respectively, said we get Contagious magazine, but we want Contagious content on a more frequent basis. So we built them Contagious Feed, and from there it's grown. So I think every new product and service that Contagious offers, whether it's Contagious Feed or whether it's Contagious Insider, which is the consultancy, we haven't dreamt it up as an idea of ways to make new money. It's come from consumer demand. It's come from people saying to us, either I want more Contagious content, or in consultancy services, I want you guys to come in, show me great examples of stuff happening with that, and then do a workshop. And it's good, and I think it's happening well, but we're still very much finding our feet in terms of the consultancy, because officially the consultancy is only about a year old. We see ourselves almost as a sort of skunk works inside Contagious. We sort of turn our hands to all different kinds of things. So we've just done a huge project with Google, where Google Mobile came to us and said we want to be able to do kind of a white paper on what we think the future of mobile is. So we worked with Google and we did loads of research and put together this beautiful looking white paper that Google Mobile are now showing to everyone as the future of mobile. So we did that. We're helping a global FMCG conglomerate launch its own innovation lab in Argentina. Want an amazing little kind of hot shop where they can develop ideas for product development, for communications. So they came to us and said, what does an innovation lab look like? Who would work in it? What would the innovation lab do? So we did all that kind of work for them, and now they're about to launch the lab, and we're actually, one of our New York guys is going to go and stand in and help them kind of launch and hold their hand as they develop. So it can be everything from bespoke research reports to trend briefings to actually helping form new parts of major businesses. So it's yeah, we're still finding our way, but it's an exciting time. But it almost always starts with a subscription to the magazine and builds.
Then they upscale. No, it's actually a combination of fact finding as well. So it'll be a very organic thing. It'll be first seeing what exactly is needed in the market and how do you react to it, and it might just be a case where actually there's a huge surge in demand, which would involve hopefully replicating more wills. I don't know, that's quite a tough job, but it might need that. So I can't give you an answer to that. There's no kind of business projection. It's more, let's be on the ground to start with.
Yeah. But I think that Neeraj will most definitely be continuing to do what we've done with in terms of driving the consultancy, which is, I don't want to sit here and say we don't want lots of clients, but I think we're still a comparatively fairly compact team. So I think we want to concentrate on building properly meaningful relationships with clients, whereby we don't just go in and do one thing and then do one thing for someone else. I think contagious services have most value when we can really get under the skin of a company and help them rethink how they do everything. Today I spoke about the difference between social marketing and social business. And if you're serious about things like social media, they will affect the very pillars of your business. And that's the kind of change we want to affect. And our most positive relationships, for example, one of our longest standing consultancy clients is Diageo. And we do an awful lot of work with Diageo, and yeah, they get a subscription, they get bespoke trend briefings, they get a contagious feed, but we're always on hand, so they can come to us and say, we're thinking about this, can we bounce it off you guys? And it's a great relationship that's lasted for a few years now, and I think it's going to keep growing and growing, because like I say, we're right in there underneath the skin. So I think certainly, I don't want to speak on your behalf, but I think building a key number of good relationships will be a very important part of what we do, rather than trying to spread ourselves too thin. Active clients, I'd say we have between 10 and 15 in Europe. I'd say we have approximately 10 in the US, and then there are a few for whom we do stuff globally. So, but that won't be ongoing. Like I say, a lot of the work we do is on a sort of unofficial retainer kind of basis. So they'll be constantly getting Contagious magazine and feed, and then they'll call up and say, we're working on something in 2 months, can we have your help? So, because obviously we're a small team, so that's quite a large number of clients, but we balance it and feed into companies as and where we can. But US is obviously going to be a big area of growth for us now. The director of Contagious Insider, the consultancy, is now working out of our New York office. She's really driving growth in the US, doing a lot of stuff brand side in the US. Obviously Neeraj is now here in India. Got a guy in Australia who's pushing stuff in the Asia Pacific region as well. So yeah, I think there's a lot of demand for it, and we just want to make sure that, like I say, we don't spread ourselves too thin, and that we make sure we can feed in a really positive, meaningful way.
If the brief is exciting and we can deliver it, then we'd rather work with the one client rather than chasing 100 and actually diluting and getting away from what we actually stand for and what we set out to do. So that's. Did you all see the session, or is there anyone?
Cool.
What were your thoughts on that?
We're trying to expand in a way which is sensible. We're not trying to outgrow ourselves too quickly. I think that we see this with agencies particularly, and some brands, and especially startups, where if you develop a brand which is exciting and occupies a niche in the market, which Contagious does, I think there's the temptation to presume that you can make that jump from niche to mass really quickly, and you open new offices and you expand really quickly, and suddenly there isn't a business there, and it can be very counterproductive. And I think Neeraj is a great example of, he's here, he's feeling his way, and he's going to get a sense for what business there is here for Contagious, and then we'll kind of grow from that point onwards. It's how we did it in America. We had a lot of subscribers already to Contagious in America, but even when we opened an office in New York, we had one editorial guy there and one lady driving the business development side of the business. And then it's grown since there, but only we always make sure we have demand before we open offices and get more people there. I think that's just smart business, to be honest. Well, like Neeraj says, you can subscribe globally, so we have subscriptions going into countries across the world, loads of different countries, including markets like the Philippines. I was in the Philippines a couple of months ago, which again is a really interesting emerging market in terms of what they're doing there and the work that's coming out of there. So we've done one-off bits there. In terms of actual consultancy services, it's primarily UK, US, and Europe, and then hopefully India fairly soon.
We've always been. It's not that we're actually launching in India. Contagious has always been available to India, so we've had subscribers from Lowe, we've had subscribers from different agencies, from Viacom, but we haven't had a physical presence here, where you can meet one-on-one, where you can engage, where you can actually get to understand the market a little better. So this is the first step towards that.